is be true to what you said on paper.
I wish that I could freely dream and be judged from within, haunted by a power that cannot see past my skin. My views are viewed as ignorant, my truth always denied. My history is shrouded in a spider web of lies. Isn't this America? Or is this America all a lie?
Of the freedom of speech, somewhere I read. Of the freedom of press, somewhere I read that the greatness of America is the right to protest far right.
How can I pledge allegiance to a country built on lies? Or raise my children to believe they're equal in its eyes? My leaders are assassinated for speaking their mind. So justice never tilts my way. I thought that she was blind. Isn't this America? Or is this America all a lie?
Well, I don't know what will happen now. We've got some difficult days ahead. But it really doesn't matter with me now, because I've been to the mountaintop.
I am Denise Tapina-Reed, co-host of At the Round Table with MAMLEO, a Massachusetts Association Minority Law Enforcement Officers Incorporated broadcast, and we greatly appreciate our sponsors. John B. Cruz Construction Company, 1 John Elliott Square, Roxbury, Massachusetts, third generation family owned, founded in
I wish that I could freely dream and be judged from within.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to At the Round Table with MAMLEO. I'm your host, Larry Elson, in studio on this cold, slippery morning, Saturday morning. It's February 1st, 2025. It is beginning of Black History Month. But folks, don't be fooled by that. Our history is every day. It's not designated to one day of the month. I usually try to avoid trying to get too much into it because we want to tell you about who we are every single day, and more importantly, these crazy days that we're in. So again, good morning and welcome to At the Round Table with MAMLEO, sponsored by The Money Store. For all your mortgage needs, give branch manager Cora Holbrook a call at area code 508-345-4726. That's 508-345-4726. Also want to thank our sponsor, Cruz Construction, for the continued support of the At the Round Table with MAMLEO. He said the doctor is on his way. Rhodes is on a day off. He's a little under the weather. He said he may be calling in to check in. But we're going to get through this morning. Like I said, in our 7 o'clock hour, we have some folks here going to help. It's the beginning of the new year. But if you're looking to purchase a home or refinance or any of those financial leads, we've got our sponsor and some of her associates that are going to be giving some guidance on how to get through this. I know the rates have been fluctuating, and with all this uncertainty, I know the stock market and the feds don't like uncertainty, and with a lot of this craziness that the orange man is imposing, that he's talking about tariffs that go into effect today in places like Mexico and Canada, that's going to affect how much money you'll have to spend, because you'll be spending more to buy products, which we don't grow everything here. We, matter of fact, 25% of our gasoline comes from Canada, and a lot of what you eat and consume comes from Mexico, so if you like avocados, you see that commercial about the avocados, get ready to pay more from. They're already a little pricey. They're going to get even more. So I said, welcome aboard. I want to say hearty good morning to a lot of our friends out there, Mr. and Mrs. Harry Scales. Well, that's my brother. Good morning to Brother Ditka. Good morning to Brother Jamal. Good morning to Brother Cliff. And without further ado, we're going to say good morning. Good morning, Brother Bridgeforth, down in Indiana there. So a hearty good morning to that brother there down there. Hope it's a little warmer there than it is here. So you're going to get colder, they said, as the day goes by today. But before we get started with our guest, Pastor Hobbs, sir, if you would mind, if you can't see him on screen, folks, he like down south they just say, he looks good enough to bury. So we're gonna have him give a little praise, multitasking there. I know we've got all the lines tied up. So
sure, Father God, we bless you. We give you praise for this day that you made. We choose to rejoice and to be glad, and we ask you just to bless us, your people, bless this broadcast, all that's said and done. Be glorified in and through it. We pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Amen to that. Again, we have our folks on the line. Cora is on the line. Cora, you there?
Yes, sir. I'm here. Can you hear me?
I can hear you quite well. I'm sorry that I know it's a little icy out there, so we'd rather have you safe. And
I know.
I'm
so sorry. I meant to be there.
No problem. I understand.
Enjoy some coffee with you guys.
Yeah, I was looking at the roads myself this morning. I was getting off the ramp. It was a little icy, so I completely understand. Like I said, we have you here. So we're just going to go around. Cora, if you wouldn't mind just reintroducing yourself. I know you folks that you're from the Money Store, the sponsor, one of the sponsors of At the Round Table with MAMLEO. We so much appreciate that, and just let folks again know who you are and what you do.
Hi, good morning again to all the listeners. My name is Cora Holbrook from the Money Store. I've been in the mortgage lending business for residential and some commercial in the past 20 years. So this is my I breathe and live mortgages. So and my office is in downtown Boston on Arch Street, right across Macy's. So if anyone wants to, and we'll be having a home buyer class, just a refresher, on the 8th, Larry, next Saturday at 12 noon at the library in Mattapan.
Okay, so
and also on March 15th.
Okay, so it's a home buyers, and that is a free workshop for the home buyers workshop.
It's a free workshop.
Next Saturday at 8 a.m. You say is the start
next
time?
Saturday.
At 8.
12 noon.
12 noon.
At the library.
Okay, 12 noon.
12 noon.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, 12 noon. So, folks, and we'll have more information on that throughout the broadcast, and we'll get that out to you. And next in line, I believe Sam is on the line. Samuel Reimer from KR Realty. Sam is a regular guest here at the Round Table with MAMLEO. Also, I consider him a brother. I know he's in a warmer climate than we are this morning, so we want to thank you for interrupting your vacation with your family. But we always appreciate the commitment that you guys have in educating our listening audience and providing a service, because this is a community that is right now, there's a lot going on. People are uncertain about a lot of things. And housing is one of them at the top of the list. It's become so expensive here in the city of Boston. So just reintroduce yourself if you don't mind, Sam.
Sure, absolutely. So I'm Sam Reimer. I'm with so it's Reimer Realty Group, RRG, and I've been in the business since 2009. So over 16 years, I've been doing this, and I specialize with helping buyers and sellers with their home buying, home purchases. I do a lot of commercial as well, so investment grade stuff. So, if you're whether you're looking for a condo or a single family or multifamily space, it's that's what I do.
Yeah, and folks, if you haven't seen Sam, to give you a little background how long he's been in, he started at 12, so the age of 12.
Yeah, I started at 19, so it was like 12, the earliest. I got my license to do some real estate over when I was in school. So when I came up to Boston, came back home, I was either renting apartments or just starting off my career.
Yeah.
And then I started my first brokerage when I was 24, and then my second brokerage when I was 29.
Wow.
So it's been a journey.
It's been a long run. And also, I believe we have on the line Kurt Thompson. Kurt, are you there with us this morning?
I am here, Larry. Can you hear
Kurt,
me okay?
it is good. Yes, brother. It's good to hear you back with us. Kurt Thompson. And Kurt, would you mind reintroducing yourself because you're part of the family
Absolutely. And it is truly a pleasure to be here again with you, Larry. My name is Kurt Thompson. I'm the broker-owner of RE/MAX Liberty in Westminster, Massachusetts. I was the 2020 president of the Massachusetts Association of Realtors. Been in the business since about 1997, so about 27 going on 28 years. Seen some up markets, seen some down markets, but have never seen it this difficult to get families into home ownership, which is what we're all trying to do right now.
Wow.
Get people into home ownership.
Well, we're going to get right back to you, but my co-host, my brother from another, has joined us here. The doctor is here in the morning. Good morning, doctor.
I'm so sorry I'm late, brother.
No.
I got up this morning and said, what's all this white stuff? I thought, it was raining when I went to bed last night. But I'm here.
I know.
This is the day that God has given me, so I'm here.
Absolutely. I understand because I wanted to turn around myself, but I knew we had guests lined up this morning, and our audience wanted to be there, so it's important. So I appreciate you taking the trek to
Well,
get
brother, I appreciate you being here to hold the fort down, until I can get here. Thank you so much. God is good.
It's a marathon.
Absolutely. I hear you, brother. I hear you.
So, Kurt, we're going to go back to you in a second. You just saying something that, that it's getting more difficult. What is the difficulties that people are experiencing? Is it the interest rates? Is it just the inventory? What's going on? I know you're out there in a different part of the state, but what's happening in the real estate market?
Well, I would say it's all of the above, Larry.
Okay.
I mean, obviously we have higher interest rates right now. We have a significant shortage of inventory.
Okay.
So because of issues with housing production and getting more homes into the marketplace, there's only a limited number of properties available. So both from a legislative point of view and from a regulatory point of view in terms of building, it's critical that we increase production of housing in the Commonwealth so that we can keep affordability so that home buyers can get in. And quite frankly, I look at my own children. I've got 3 daughters between 17 and 22. My question will be, can they purchase a home in Massachusetts?
Yeah.
What are going to be the mechanisms for them to get into home ownership?
Right.
And then finally, we know that home ownership is critically important.
Yeah.
The difference in net worth between a rentor and a homeowner is a difference between $10,400 and over $400,000. So getting people into home ownership has a significant impact on multi-generational health to move people and families forward.
Larry, one of the things that I hear what his brother's saying, and I agree with him. I have 5 children, and my first 2 girls were lucky enough to get in on the home owner bubble before it kind of like ballooned. But my point is, my concern is when you have private hedge funds buying up property, you know what I mean? When the government has allowed that to happen, I'm saying to myself, I really don't care how many buildings you build, because I can't compete with that entity.
Right.
I don't have the money to actually compete with a retirement fund out of Australia who's buying up property and
renting them out.
And renting them out.
And then cashing in later on when the equity is there.
Right. So I think there is a political component to this that has to be addressed. That's just how I'm looking at it. I'm not the expert, but that's how I see it.
No, and to the point, Kirk's point, I bought my first.
Join us for the Boston Trades Radio and TV Fundraising Talent Search Concert on Sunday, April 27th, 2025 at 6 p.m. The event is free and will be held at the Global Ministries Christian Church located at 670 Washington Street, Dorchester, Mass. 02124. Come and enjoy an evening filled with amazing performances while supporting a great cause. We look forward to seeing you there. For more information, call us at 617-282-0685. That's 617-282-0685. Or email us at bostonpraiseradio.tv@gmail.com. That's bostonpraiseradio.tv@gmail.com.
home when I was 19 years old. I had no idea how it was going to impact my life, but I can tell you, if 19 years old today, I couldn't even be considering that because of the cost. I had a mentor who got me into real estate early, and that was a game changer, right? That's when you talk about that generational wealth, right? That home, 2 years later, I sold it for more money than I probably made working. And I say that not out of arrogance. I say that because I didn't understand real estate at the time. And someone taught me about that. My family rented all that time.
And that's the issue, I think. So this is why I think this platform is so valuable.
Absolutely.
To have these brothers here to talk about who are experts in it.
Yes.
Because oftentimes we don't know about it because our people are in, especially when I came up, they were in the renting.
And
that's what it was.
The redlining. That
Yeah,
was taking
exactly.
place,
And so all those things were foreign to them. They were like, I'm going to go to work, I'm going to rent, I'm going to save my money and get 2 cents on my savings at the bank, and I'm going to get an apartment where I'm wasting money. So that was a cycle. These brothers allow our listening audience who may be thinking about pooling money somehow to get this thing because they're helping us break that cycle. So I really appreciate them being here, but that's my little neophyte, if you will, approach to this.
And just to kind of I guess tag on what Kurt just said. Although difficult, very possible. And I don't want people to be discouraged about buying a home right now. Actually, inventory is it's more of a balanced market right now. We have 4.5 months worth of inventory. That just means that it's a balanced market. It's not like very seller side. It's more of a balanced market. So that means buyers do have a little more wiggle room for negotiation than they have in the past.
But
we're
Sam,
still seeing.
Good. Go ahead. Finish your thought. I wouldn't ask your question. Good.
No, we're still seeing over asking. We're still seeing people waive inspections in order to buy homes in Boston, but it's still possible. Now, I think what's more important is that you get the right team around you. It's not about what you know; it's about who you know.
Yeah.
So building the right team of like mortgage professionals, real estate agents, an attorney, and then starting the process. Now, whether the process means that you can buy in the next 3 months, 6 months, or even 2 years, that's okay, as long as you get on that road. So don't be discouraged from all the hype and people saying it's so hard, it's so hard. There's a lot of programs out there. I'm sure Core's going to cover some of those programs. And then the city has some programs that will help you get to that point.
Well, that's why
so that's the whole thing.
We appreciate this information, this knowledge, right? But I was going to say that, and you and Kurt and Cora, I'm sure probably know as well. But historically, this time of the year, it's always kind of slowed down because people usually try not to buy in the wintertime. Just moving in the cold and weather has an effect on the housing market historically anyways. But I'm glad to hear you say it's 4 months because things were not staying on the market a day. I mean, a lot of times if you had prior knowledge of it and you hoping that you would get it before it got on the market. But again, as I said, historically, this has been a slow period for people buying homes in the winter months. I know for me, I kind of it's too cold to go out and to open house. So I wouldn't even look this time of the year. Is that a fair assessment?
Well, for comparison, right now we have 4.5 months of inventory. Last year this time we had about 2.5.
Oh, well, okay.
So as you can see, it's a lot different. So that just means that there's more listings available. So you have more selection, which means there's just more listings for someone to pick from. So sellers have to adjust to that. Yeah. And so that's like one of the big things is sellers think that it's still, 02, 03.
Yeah.
When you have to, again, it's not 02, 03. Things have changed. But that being said, we still need more inventory in Boston.
Okay.
And so I think we have a few big projects in the city that's coming online. They're more on the luxury side. When builders build, they usually build more luxury versus affordable.
Right.
Just because the cost of building. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it is better than it was in previous years.
Right. So with that said, Cora, as a matter of fact, at 8 o'clock hour, Senator Collins is going to come in. And he's going to talk about the recent tax increases here in Boston, and that's really making people uneasy because now they're going to have to be paying more in their escrow, and even if you own the home, you're paying more in your real estate taxes. So that's going to affect people buying as well because that affects their bottom line when they're trying to purchase. That gets tacked on, and Cora, that's a good point to bring you in. Where are the interest rates at now, and are you seeing people applying for mortgages with these rates at their current rate?
Oh, yes, Larry. Yes, I think the key point here, Larry, is why people are slowing down. They're looking at the interest rates and they're thinking, "Oh my God, this is too high." But it's a play between the interest rate that's offered today versus if they wait, what the price of homes will be in the future. Mm-hmm. The historical increase in price of homes is like 8%. Is that right, Kurt, Sam? It's like 8%. So let me give an example of that. Today, if a $500,000 home would be like $540,000. Probably, the price of home today I'm seeing is like the price of home last year still, because we are in the slow month. Mm. But when spring comes, that $500,000 home could very well be $520,000 or $540,000, or even down during the summertime when it peaks. So if you're looking at the interest rate today, let's say even if it's 7%, it's not 7%, it's 6.5%. Mm-hmm. So right now, a $500,000 home with a 5% down payment is you're looking at a loan of $475,000. So you're looking at a $3,002.32 monthly payment.
That's just the principal, and that doesn't include the taxes.
That's just the principal and interest.
Okay.
Yes.
So
because this is what we're looking on this is what people are looking at. Mm. So the tax, of course, will depend on where you want to buy. There's some like in Boston, it's subsidized. I mean, it's the other occupied properties they have some sort of an exemption.
Right.
So, but to my point, if you are waiting to buy a house like in 1 year from now, and then the price of home goes up by 8%, like say at $540,000, that at the interest rate of, let's say the interest rate goes down to 6%, that house is already they are going to pay $3,075 on that house. Versus buying today, even at 6.5, we're at $3,002. Right. So you see the difference already.
No, I do. So Corey, let me just
being conservative.
Right. So let me just ask you, because Corey, and then I have a question for Kurt. So, but factoring that in, like a lot of people are very nervous. I know I've been getting a lot of calls. In fact, that's why we have Senator Collins on at the 8 o'clock hour, so we can tell people how to file for an abatement, because the window is closing on that. I think you only have a couple of days to do that and file that residential exemption. A lot of people are not aware of that. But some people are already on the margins as far as being able to afford it. In this let's just use Boston, for example, because I know Boston is the only place that increased their property taxes. But that recent tax increase, and on top of it, what Boston did was they reassessed the value of your home, and then they levied the tax on that. That is making a difference, would you say, for people's qualifications who are already on the margin? Now you have a 13% tax increase on the property taxes for that same property that I might have been looking at before the end of the year. But now that gets factored into my closing that might not take place until next month. Some people, that might be a disqualifier for them as far as being the approval. Right? Does that affect?
Yes, well, that's an additional expense that people are looking. If they look at the total package, if they are in Boston, the tax is probably, Sam, help me here. It's like $400.
Well, they went up. They went up on average around 13%. So even with the abatement or in the residential exemption, it's still not being affordable for people, especially people who are on a fixed income, even if they're not selling. I mean, people bought their homes at that price. Like I said, the average price of a home in Boston is close to $1 million. Well, when you buy it, you already know what you're getting into. But even those folks, this came as a
right.
shock.
So the average home in Mattapan is selling for around $600,000. Hyde Park, you're looking at about $700,000. Dedham, you're talking $800,000. So it depends on where you are. And taxes are slightly different. Depends on where that is. But you're talking $6,000 to $8,000 in taxes for a single family on average. But an increase in the average tax rate will kind of put a little pressure. But we always recommend, and Cora, again, when Cora does her numbers, and any mortgage professional, when they do their numbers, they make sure there's enough room. for stuff like that. So, I think it's up to 45% of gross income. Cora?
Yeah, because a lot of people are getting, this increase in their escrow.
Some programs, it goes up. If they're looking for a down payment assistance, then of course they have to watch their the ratios, their affordability,
I want to pivot.
That's why it's very important that they prepare for
and get pre-approved, pre-qualified, so
it takes preparation to buy a home.
Right.
They cannot just jump into it.
Right. So Kurt,
and I just want to say one more thing.
Sure, go ahead.
I just want to say one more thing. Just to I don't want people to be afraid of the process. It is not as difficult or scary as it may seem. Once you're in it with the right people, again, you're going to be okay. And another thing is, like I always say, it's get in where you fit in.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to buy that affordable unit first if you can get on that. I mean, it's a big list.
Yeah. And
don't be afraid to buy that condo.
Right. And
don't be afraid to move to get something outside the city.
Right.
Go ahead.
No, I'm saying that's a good pivot to Kurt, because Kurt, are you finding that the prices in your area, I know you're in a different market where you are you seeing the difference in pricing in there? The prices leveled off? Have they gone up, or are they, people able to negotiate a little more?
Absolutely, Larry. So every market is very different. That's why it's important to use a local realtor that understands the marketplace and the dynamics in that specific market. So to Sam's point, and to your question, if you look at what's happening across the state, so for example, Essex County, the median home price is about $643,000. It's about $775,000 in Middlesex, and about $745,000 in Suffolk County. Coming out to the west, I always joke with people, we live in the area between 128 and California, for those of you that are inside the 128 belt, because I know most of you don't know where
I'm clueless. Like, give me some direction, some target points to look at, because when you say, I'm like, I think I go north and south.
Exactly. So to give you that information, Larry, so Worcester County, the average is $465,000. Okay. To our west, Franklin, Hampshire, and Hampden counties, their median is $338,000, $320,000, $425,000. So, for example, we had a family that we put into a wonderful split level here in Leominster, Massachusetts, right around $425,000, $450,000. They use down payment assistance. I think their total cost of acquisition at the closing costs were somewhere around $11,000 out of pocket they needed to bring. Okay. Or we had a client that relocated to Winchington. They're working every day in Cambridge and Wellesley for their employment, and they opted to move an hour away because what they were able to get in a different market for affordability was very different than what was available. Yeah. Now, I'm not trying to relocate population, but we do need to be geographically flexible because, again, that difference in having home ownership and an asset that's paid off in 30 years versus 30 years of rent receipts with no equity has a systemic and significant impact on the net worth and the mobility of the family. Those are funds for retirement, college education for children, the ability to move people forward.
Right. So, Dr. Bradley, you have some of your family members have come home and they're with you and your wife.
Tell me about it.
Right. And so, and people now are doing more of that.
Dear friends, this is Pastor Bruce Wall. Your support keeps WBPG-LP 102.9 FM radio on the airwaves. We are proud to be Boston's only black-owned, FCC-licensed, church-based FM radio station. Daily, we bring you news, gospel music, and talk radio. Many of you have asked about our operating costs. It takes $5,000 each month to keep the station running. Consider making a financial gift of $10, $20, $100, or even $1,000 to help us continue to bring you the content you love. You can send your donations via Cash App to $BPI TV, $BPI TV, $BPI TV, MAMLEO support to Boston Praise Radio and TV at 670 Washington Street, Dorchester, Mass. Zip code 02124. That's 670 Washington Street, Dorchester, Mass. Zip code 02124. Without your crucial support, Boston Praise Radio and TV may no longer be able to bring you the programs you love. Your contributions make a real difference.
They can try to save money, but even then, it's very difficult, right? And are you seeing in your neighborhood, are you seeing this growth in housing and the cost from what you and your wife pay for?
Absolutely.
You said that with authority.
There's a complex up the street from my house where there's a cul-de-sac where the guy made townhouses. Yeah. Each half costs over $500,000.
Wow!
So for each unit, he's getting over $1 million.
Wow.
Then he has these row houses, and I'm saying, how are people affording this? So my daughter, who moved back from Atlanta, decided that she was going to go up and take a look at it.
She wanted to be close to the family.
Like, baby, you may have to go out west. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because this is a little bit steep.
Right.
You know, I'm wondering how can people, just a down payment, I'm happy to hear that there are programs to assist with the down payment.
We're going to have to plug them in with Kurt and Sam and Cora.
Well, we just might have to do that.
Right.
And they're doing well. They're doing extremely well financially. But
and that's the thing, is
it's out of
people
their
are
reach.
doing well, but trying to save up with the cost of everything, it's very difficult unless they have family that are willing to help them.
Yeah, well, they have that. You know, I have to keep telling them that you can't party, you got to save. Because if you party, you have to pay rent.
Okay.
But I'm sorry. That's another conversation.
That's important information for people out there, too. Trust me. So you go to say, I'm sorry, so go ahead.
And Cora can talk about this. We had a client that put $1,700 down and got a house. Right,
$1,700.
Wow.
What decade was that?
What decade was that?
Last year. Last year, because there's again down payment. People think that you only can make $60,000. No, there's programs where you can make $180,000 household income and still have access to.
How come I don't know about those programs?
Well, of course, there's certain banks have certain criteria and what they need to lend. Go ahead, Cora. This Cora's little house.
Yeah, so if you combine affordable housing with a down payment assistance, you'll end up paying less than $3,000 a month. So there's a lot of affordable housing units there in Boston. There are townhouses, condos. Well, for now, yes, but there are resales also of single families. So they just have to watch out for those things if they really want to stay in Boston.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
I had a client.
Go ahead, Kurt. I think it was Kurt. Go ahead. What were you saying?
Larry, just to Sam and Cora's point, because this is really critical. We do need to move away from the mentality if you need to save enough. Believe me, I believe in sustainable and affordable home ownership. But just looking at the last year, the median home price moved in Massachusetts from $600,000 to $640,000. There are very few people that were able to save $40,000 over the course of a year. So it's critical through programs like Cora has access to and programs that Sam knows about to be able to get into programs that have low down payment, leverage the down payment assistance programs that are out there, and to get into home ownership because it's time in the home, not timing the market, is going to make a difference for them over the long term.
You know, as a father who is advising the child to buy their own home, I can hear that. But my point is, what is the income criteria to enter into those programs?
Right, but he's saying that's $8,000. Is it more of you being a first time home buyer?
Yeah, exactly.
That's not available to someone who is already in a home and looking to graduate up to another home.
Or is it more that you have to make, if you're making, is there an income shut off there? You know what I mean? If you're making $150,000 a year, are you not eligible to enter into
If I heard
these
Sam,
programs?
he's saying this person was at $180,000. I found that wow, because that's a lot.
No, that's
of
correct. Larry, that's correct.
Good.
The state program it goes up to 125% of the area median income limit, and they can still get a down payment assistance up to $25,000.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what does that mean? It can go. Their combined income can go up to $194,000 or $192,000.
You said combined
income, and they can still get a down payment assistance.
Okay.
And that will help in reducing their monthly mortgage, in being able to afford the monthly payment.
Right.
Okay.
And how you find out
But-
whether you qualify or not is you need to speak to CORE. You need to speak to a mortgage professional. You need to speak to a real estate agent again, and help. Someone like CORE, she's a professional that has all the resources.
Right.
So speak to someone that has all the resources.
This is why
Get the team around you. Go together.
Why this is so important,
Absolutely.
having you guys on this broadcast, because someone like me, Dr. Bradley, who's been in this for a while, I've always been under the mindset, and I've always been told by most you have to have this amount of money before you even start having a conversation.
I mean, when they're talking, I'm calculating in my head. Well, if that's $1 million, you're talking about 10%. Who has that kind of money?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying, and then I'm hearing Kirk saying that we have to get people away from that, and I'm like, wow. So again, for our listening audience, because we're not taking any calls at this moment, is. So, folks, because we want you to absorb this, Kirk, what is the criteria? Is this mainly for first-time home buyers, folks, or is this for someone who's been in a home for 10 years? Would they be eligible for these programs?
So this is exactly why they need to reach out to Cora.
Yeah, okay.
Because she's going to know what the criteria of the program is, and she can speak to that point.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. And also,
I'm gonna have my daughter reach out to her.
Yeah, we're gonna. Dr. Bradley's family's gonna be reaching out to you soon, Cora. So the other question is,
it's either they go to the state for down payment assistance, or go to Daddy and ask for down payment assistance.
Because it almost seems like if you're in a good spot financially with your job, you make too much, so you don't qualify.
Yeah, right.
And then if you qualify, you don't make enough to cover the mortgage.
Exactly. But it is nice to hear.
Yeah.
Because I do agree with the young man who said you need to get in right away.
Yeah.
I don't disagree with that.
Okay.
But what I'm having problems with is how do I do that in this economical climate?
This is the importance of people like that we have on the line. Good.
You have to crawl before you walk.
Yeah,
you have
right.
to walk before you run.
Right.
So a lot of people want to jump into that white picket fence first. It's not the way to go.
Right.
Be okay with getting that condo in Easton.
Right.
Yeah.
Be okay with getting that condo in Brockton. You have to be okay with that commute because you have to get in.
Well,
you can't keep paying rent.
No, an old timer
the
told
faster
me.
you get in, the more.
Right.
Sam, he said, buy the worst house in the best neighborhood, and he was right about that because even that will appreciate. But I think to Kurt's point, like you said, you have 30 years of rent receipts, and you have no equity, in that. But folks, help me so with all this uncertainty that's going on in this new administration, I don't want to get too much in the weeds with the politics of it, but does that affect, because I know the market doesn't like uncertainty. That's one thing they don't usually. You start to see things, and as prices go up for goods, like today starts a trade war with Mexico and Canada, which are talking about and China.
Yeah.
And so our people who are already, like I said, at the margins, and now they have to pay more for gas and avocados and everything else that we get from other places. That's got to factor into, do I even want to go looking at a home?
So I'll take that one, Larry.
Okay.
Staying out of the political realm so I don't get in trouble with
absolutely.
listeners. The reality is we know that there's going to be a fiscal conservatism coming in over the next 4 years, and that's going to impact grant down payment programs and programs that are specifically targeted to uplift populations that have been historically disenfranchised or disabled from being able to get into home ownership. So there is time sensitivity to needing to take advantage of these programs and to get into home ownership. But I also tell people, don't take your eye off the prize. I know a lot of people are not okay out there right now. I know everyone's a little bit, okay, what's coming at us. Don't take your eyes off the prize. The goal is to make sure you're stabilizing yourself and your family, and home ownership does that. So again, to Sam and Cora's point, the ability to get into home ownership, and there's a lot of great programs that are out there today. Contact Cora, find out what's out there, and find out what you qualify for affordable and for sustainable home ownership based off of the programs of today.
All right. So, and I know I was listening to the news yesterday, and it was the mayor in Medford is saying there that he is laxing what can be built in their town because they realize that they have to be a little bit more flexible in what can be built. Like before, it may have been a single family. Now they're saying, you can put a 4-family there, condominium. So because they understand that, like a guy told me a long time ago, you can build more houses, you just can't build more land. And I think that's kind of where we are. I know, Cora, you wanted to say something. Go ahead. Did we lose Cora?
Oh, I was just saying it takes preparation to buy a home. It's not like you're buying a car. That's tomorrow you can go to the dealership and get financing, and
and you get less for it too.
$5,000 you can buy it. So the preparation. That's why we've been holding classes, first-time home buyer classes, every month in Boston.
Yeah.
And if Kurt is open for us to go there and hold the classes too, we'll be willing. But yeah, another key is the preparation and learning what you need to do in order to get there. And like what Kurt said, keep your eye on the price.
So Cora, that interest rate around that 7%, where do you need to be as far as your credit score? Because that's a huge factor as well. Even if you have a little bit of money.
Well, right now, if you're at over 760 credit score, you can get a better rate, like say 6.5. And it's a combination of down payment, credit score, and the price of the home. So the average price right now on a 30-year fixed rate is between 6.5 to 6.75%. But on a 15-year, it's now below 6%. We're now at 5.8% on a 15-year mortgage, and more so on a 10-year mortgage, we're looking at 5.5%. So there's a way. There's a way. Of course, if you have a big mortgage, then that, of course, will be the monthly payment. Of course, might be unaffordable. But that's why it's always good to save, and that's what I always tell my clients. Even though there's down payment assistance out there, saving is still good. If they have to, most of my clients who are CNAs, who are in the health care, they have 2 jobs. If they have to do that in order to get to their goal, why not?
Yeah.
Right? Because I have one client who is piggybacking with her sister to buy a house, but the intention is for her to buy out her sister down the road. So you know what she's doing now? She's looking for a second job so that she will be able to afford that house without her sister. So if that's what it takes, why not?
Right.
So it's all in.
So
planning.
Sam, you said, like I said, sometimes you may have to get into a condo. Are you seeing in the Boston market? Because also when I look at these condos, I look at the cost of the home, then I look at the condo fee. That also is a huge factor as well. And those are pretty steep and hefty.
Right. You want to again. It's all about affordability. It's all about you running your numbers. Having again, don't do it in a silo. Speaking with Core, speaking with like a real estate agent like Kurt, like me, and actually set up the plan. Again, I have clients that spend 2 to 3 years like planning to get it all done. And don't be afraid. And like Kurt said, the flexibility. Like be more flexible.
Yeah.
You have to be flexible on where you want to live and also how.
Yeah.
Some people. One second. So some people, I have some clients. 1 second, Core. So some people only want a single-family home. Well, that might be a condo or townhouse. Like we have a townhouse coming up in Lower Mills right now. It's in around the $700,000 range, but it has 6 bedrooms.
Wow. Okay.
So maybe you get 6 bedrooms and 3 bathrooms. So maybe you get with a cousin. Maybe you get with and like go together. Go together. Together you can go far. Right? Like the Lion King movie.
So it sounds like a 4 bedrooms with 2 they're calling 2 closets. They're calling bedrooms. And instead of you having the house with the picket fence, you might get a house with no fence, right? I got it. Okay.
Right. Get it.
Join us for the Boston Praise Radio and TV Fundraising Talent Search Concert on Sunday, April 27, 2025 at 6 p.m. The event is free and will be held at the Global Ministries Christian Church located at 670 Washington Street, Dorchester, Mass. 02124. Come and enjoy an evening filled with amazing performances while supporting a great cause. We look forward to seeing you there. For more information, call us at 617-282-0685,
0685-617-282, 0685, or email us at bostonpraiseradio.tv@gmail.com, bostonpraiseradio.tv@gmail.com, bostonpraiseradio.tv@gmail.com.
Get a house and get in there, and then that happens all the time. Eventually, one person buys out the other person, but you're in the game.
So
now
Kurt,
you're in the game. You're riding the wave.
Yeah. So Sam, while we have you, and then we're going to pivot to Cora, because I want these guys to give out your contact information a couple of times. Can we just interject that there? Sam, how do people reach out to you?
Right. You can just call me at 617-775-3074. I'm on Facebook, Sam Reimer. I'm on Instagram. I'm not that hard to find. You can also email me at sam@reimerrealtygroup.com.
Okay.
I'm easy to find.
All right. And Corey, you wanted before we get to your contact information again? We give it out at the top of the hour, anyways. But from you,
yes, Cora Holbrook, 508-345-4726, and they can also email me at cholbrook@themoneystore.com. Yes, my last name is like the town.
Okay,
but we don't own it.
Right, yeah, right. I know. I used to pass through it. I'd go heading home.
Yeah, I live right next to it.
That's right. I forget that. And Kurt, how do folks contact you, my brother?
I will keep it easy. So my cell phone number is 978-833-3569, and my personal email is kurt@kurtthompson.com, and that's Kurt with a K. Okay. So the business one's a little bit longer, but we keep it simple.
So Kurt, and I'm going to pivot back to Kurt. So, the mayor here in Boston was saying one of the reasons why, and it's not getting into politics, but just getting to the real estate of this question is that the reason that that she wanted to incorporate more taxes on businesses, and Senator Collins, who's coming on the 8 o'clock hour, was saying that the businesses have really shrunk here in the city of Boston. I'm not sure if it's that way out there, and that's a market. Are you seeing that same effect out in your part of the state, where people who are working from home seems to be the way that a lot of companies have, so they're not going back into these commercial places? That's impacting that, and then they're thinking, what do we do with these places to convert them into home housing? Are you seeing that on your end as well, where you are?
Yeah, so that's a great question, Larry. So we obviously know that there's been a change in where people live and work. And recently I had a client that just paused for a couple of weeks because he was just told he may be coming into the office again 5 days per week, so that will impact where they purchase. I really think it's about reimagining home ownership and how we structure commercial properties. So mixed use, where you have retail on the first floor, office on the second, and residential above, typically creates a more stable environment. The other thing, just to tab in, is there's a lot of focus on this, both at the National Association of Realtors and at the Massachusetts Association of Realtors. And you're seeing a lot of great programs come online. So, for example, in the 118th Congress, we had More Homes on the Market Act go through, which incentivized homeowners to bring homes on. You have the MBTA Communities program, which is changing the zoning in the core transportation routes to allow higher concentration and density within that corridor, and even the approval of accessory dwelling units, ADUs, that are allowing people to build secondary structures on their existing homes for children or for grandparents, so on and so forth.
Right. So, Kurt,
a lot of focus on that right now.
And you did mention something that's very important, and like I said, I'm going to get too political, but there's a political side of this, that you're saying that people, if they're thinking about this, they need to do it right now, because a lot of this is federally funded. This money comes through, and if these things dry up or they're no longer available, that's going to affect the housing market as well. Is it correct? Or?
Well, I think the reality is we know what programs are available right now. Cora has access to those programs, so someone that's waiting to save, again, you would have had to have saved $40,000 last year to outstrip what that increase is in the median home price, which most people did not. So their best option is to take advantage of the market, knowing what the programs are today. We don't know what's coming down the pipe. I wouldn't necessarily worry about that. This isn't hey, be afraid of it. But at least we know what the rules of the road are today, and we know what programs are. And it's just a simple phone call to someone like Cora to find out what you are, what's available, what you qualify for, and then you can start to plan the next steps.
Yeah.
Reach out to Sam and see what's out there for inventory.
Good pivot. So, Sam, a question for you, because a year ago, houses, they were sold before they even got on the market. They were going way above asking price. Is there any negotiating? Are you able to negotiate a little bit more with the seller now as a buyer?
Right. Right. So, like as we said in the beginning of the session here, because inventory is at 4.5, you have technically you have some room. But with that being said, what your favorite property is probably someone else's favorite property. So you still need to be able to work with your real estate agent to put the offer in the best light possible. And although I hate to have to suggest like, hey, inspection, waive an inspection. It happens. It happens sometimes. Without a clean offer, they don't go through. So again, what's going on right now? It's still a very competitive market. You still need to be prepared to negotiate strongly with the seller, and sellers need to be able to negotiate strongly with the buyer. But the opportunity is absolutely there. You like Kurt said, you have to think a little more creative at this point. Things are changing. I have some investors that are moving away from the Airbnb model, and then what they're doing is they're buying properties straight off of renting room by room. Like they're running the numbers on what it is to rent that property room by room. That's where we are now.
So that's what Dr. Bradley's
it's not
doing
even a whole
right
apartment anymore. Right. And so, but the thing is, if you take advantage of that idea as a first-time home buyer, is it okay if I buy this 5-bedroom home and I'm only going to live in one of them and I rent out the other 4? What is my mortgage then? Wow. Meanwhile, your tenants, who's renting out your other 4 rooms, is paying your mortgage.
Right. So what I hear from you folks is saying that people have to be a little bit more open. Like it's not like before where, when there was very limited inventory, prices were a little lower. Because I tell people don't understand these rates still are not bad, but the prices have offset that. When I bought my first home, interest rates were 17%. And that's with good credit, 17%. Wow. Yeah. Back in the 80s, it was 17% for Yeah. And
the counter argument to that is prices weren't as high.
Right.
So
exactly. Yeah.
It is relative. Yeah. But again, if you get in where you fit in, you don't be afraid to work with a lot of investors. The new investment is not necessarily buying that 4-family. Yeah. You should do that if you can afford it. But hey, maybe your first investment is again that 3 or 4 bedroom house or 3 or 4 bedroom condo and renting out the rooms because rooms right now in Boston are going for $1,200 to $1,600.
It's ridiculous. You should be able to get a room for $75 a week. No, you can't even knock on the door.
In Cambridge, I had an apartment in Cambridge that I was renting out, and it came out to $2,000 a room in Cambridge.
So let me ask you, gentlemen.
So in Mattapan, about $1,100.
Corey, did you have something you wanted to say? Do we lose Corey? So Kurt and Sam, I want to ask you guys because I know this just came into effect last year. Matter of fact, some of these lawyers are already filing lawsuits on behalf of people. How is this impacting as far as a seller? We talked about this before with the new changes where you now, and I may have it all wrong, somewhat wrong, that you don't have to pay the realtor who may bring it to you if you didn't contract them like before. If the seller. The buyer brought a buyer to you and it wasn't your seller, they got part of the commission. Is that impacting the market as much as people thought it might? As far as me,
I would say, Larry, yes and no. So you're talking about the results of the Sister Burnett case out of Missouri and the impact that happened on 8/17
if you could just give people a little
compensation.
A little overview on what that is and how that.
So the simple answer is basically as of the settlement of 8/17, 2 things happened that are critically important. All buyer agency compensation was removed from the multiple listing service, and all buyers working with realtors are required to sign written buyer agency agreements before going in and touring a property in person or online. But to your question, Larry, in terms of the mechanics, what it means is even though there's no longer unilateral offers of compensation for many realtors out there available to buyer's agents, at the Massachusetts Association of Realtors level, we updated the form set. So in paragraph 2, when a buyer is now submitting an offer on a property, it allows them to insert the request for compensation from the seller directly to their buyer agent to still offset that ability for them to have to come up with it out of pocket. Now, that's an ongoing conversation between the seller and the buyer in the transaction formation, but there still are multiple channels. It can be, could be from broker to broker. It can be between formation of contract